This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
M-Lord, I love you dearly, but I will not have you discriminating against the people on YouTube. They are real people. Welcome to the Troll Patrol live, all you real people. It's a freaking Wednesday. It's a freaking debate night in Delaware. I think. I don't have any kind of. Oh, thank you, Soup. I like you, Soup. Listen, my hair looking crazy. I need to go get it cut. It's getting unruly over here. Russell, I'm not gonna leave you out. I love you too over there. Holiday, good evening. I have an invitation to the Delaware debate to be there in person. I got a ticket to be there in person. I have no proof that there is a live stream. Oh shit! I did not know that, M-Lord. Well, then you were second, and I was wrong about YouTube being a real person. Nanakanchia, good evening. What does that even mean? I'm sorry. I'm horrible. We've got all kinds of shit we're gonna cover tonight. I've got crazy video. A man fought off some carjackers at a gas station. An Atlanta rapper has been convicted of murder. Some girls testified about how they beat a man almost to death because they were bored. I'm hesitant to play that one because the dude testifies, and his head looks like somebody about beat him to death. We have new details about the shooter in Georgia. A man waited in jail for months, got out, and then stalked a mother. The Inspector General in Chicago wants some cops banned from being able to serve on the police force. And what is continued, it's been a running gag this week. Everybody been getting upset over their food. A man apparently stabbed some people over his order at Popeyes. Here is your meme of the day. Bath and Body Works apologizes for candles that look like a KKK meeting. Apparently, totally pulled this candle. I don't know. Does seem a little clanny. But I'm of the opinion that companies do this shit on purpose. They just got free advertising on the Troll Patrol because of this goddamn candle, right? They got this this headline came from The Guardian. They got The Guardian to advertise their snowed-in candle. No press is bad press. Called outrage marketing. Clinically, what do you think? Did Bath and Body Works do this candle on purpose? We might possibly watch a Delaware debate tonight. I've got to look and see what the candidates' names are. Lisa Blunt Rochester is the Democrat. Lisa Blunt Rochester. Hell yeah, I like her already. I remember her from the convention, though. Eric Hansen is the Republican. We apparently also have an independent. I don't know if they will be at the debate. If we get to do the debate. This was Gloria Johnson in Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn did not show up. This would have been a debate.
Do make sure your voice is heard. Now, sadly, this will likely be the only debate or discussion of the 2024 United States Senate race here in the great state of Tennessee. But regardless, we are here tonight to hear information. Some of you all have already submitted your questions because my questions, well, they're not all my questions, will not be the only ones that will be presented to
Not high enough for this shit.
Representative Gloria Johnson. You get a chance as well.
You.
Because again, this debate, this forum is for you. So we want to make sure your voices are heard as well. We do have some cards or sticky notes. Justin, who just stepped out, has some set up somewhere. Justin, when you come back, if you could please.
No, I won't.
Where our pink cards are. And so once you fill that out with your question, if you would like to put your name on it, feel free. If you do not, that is just fine. But once you put your question on that sticky note, it will be added into the basket, and at such point in the program, we will present your question. Fair enough? All right. I love it when you talk to me. Thank you so much. All right. Tonight, again, as you all know, this discussion was to be between two candidates. Both the Democratic and Republican leading candidates for Senate were invited to participate tonight and given ample time to respond. However, only the Democratic nominee, leading Democratic nominee, Representative Gloria Johnson of Knoxville, who you see at the end here of the dais, has accepted the invitation to join us.
No, Marsha Blackburn.
And thank you. If you don't mind, and this is for you and for everyone, we're going to have point of order because we want everyone to have. It is, but that does not mean it has to be absent of order. Okay, so we do want everyone to have a fair share in speaking, and we do not want anyone to overspeak anyone. And we have to. I understand, but in interrupting the forum, that is disrespectful to the entire audience because we're trying to have everyone to listen and to hear. And here we are again, we are continuing. So we're going to move forward. That being said, as I mentioned, we do have Representative Gloria Johnson who is here. And we thank you for participating, taking time out from your schedule. And now we're going to move forward.
Oh, who found us? Who found us a stream of this Delaware Senate debate? I had to go digging for it.
Our hope that Senator Blackburn will attend. If at some point she does show up tonight, of course she will. That invitation.
Spoiler alert, she does not show up. I really wanted to watch this debate. Gloria Johnson is amazing. She would be a fantastic senator from Tennessee. She will not win.
The cards, if you could fill in your questions and pose your questions.
So we might come back and watch a little bit of Gloria Johnson here in just a little bit. You might remember her from the fiasco that happened on the Tennessee floor over Justin Parsons. They wanted to expel him. She spoke up for him. I do want to bring your attention to tomorrow night. The United States is going to carry out another travesty of justice, and it appears like it's going to go forward.
I'm stunned. I am shocked.
The morning hearing in Austin was one last attempt to get the governor's attention, and at the microphone again.
I told my wife last week that I'm ashamed.
The former Palestine detective who helped convict Robert Robertson for the death of his daughter Nikki, based on a medical theory of shaken baby syndrome.
I'm ashamed that I was so focused on finding an offender and convicting someone that I did not see Robert. I did not hear his voice. He's an innocent man. And we're
also an autistic man.
Killing him for something he did not do.
But although the theory is now considered junk science, and a Texas law is supposed to allow cases like this to be reconsidered, appeals have been denied, and today the Board of Pardons and Paroles refused to stop his execution.
I know the Board of Pardons and Paroles and the governor's office is watching and tuning in right now. The law that the legislature passed and our governor signed into law is being ignored by our courts. All we're seeking to do here is to push the pause button to make sure that it's enforced.
With the final say up to Governor Abbott now, with the ability to grant a 30-day pause,
you fuck him.
The Innocence Project delivered signed petitions to his office. Anna Vasquez knows this crisis well. She was exonerated of aggravated assault of a child after serving 15 years.
Governor Abbott must stop Texas from making an irreversible mistake.
Governor Abbott's office has not yet responded. But even as doctors testified today that the little girl did not die by abuse, that pneumonia and wrongly prescribed medications were likely responsible, The 22-year countdown to Robert Robertson's Thursday execution continues. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
Wasn't even his fault. Like, it could be chalked up to the doctors not knowing what to do, and that is sad. All right, we are going to Delaware Public Media, where we're going to watch the Senate debate for the Delaware Senate seat.
Supported by the University
Poonages.
College of Arts and Sciences and the Department of Communication. For this debate,
Did I say that correctly?
Candidates
Welcome in.
for one of Delaware's seats in the United States Senate. The Republican nominee for U.S. Senate is Eric Hansen, here with us tonight.
Chris Hansen.
The Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate is Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester of Wilmington, Delaware. Representative Blunt Rochester declined to participate in our debate.
What?
Not here. In the interest of public service, we are proceeding with our discussion with Mr. Hansen. Okay, we're going to stop and we're going to ask security to escort our guest out of the hall.
Well,
We'll start again.
by the way, we're apparently getting a Massachusetts
Anybody else want to stand up and shout?
Senate debate.
Good opportunity.
Everybody stand up and shout.
Here's your invitation. Do it.
Wow.
Okay.
And this was the Democrat that backed out. Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Okay, we're not going to...
We saw her speak at the Democratic convention.
Where was I? Okay, got it.
It's not like she wasn't capable. I don't know why she didn't show up. This is
Okay.
disappointing. It's probably a safe seat for her, though. Bless you.
The Republican nominee for U.S. Senate is Eric Hansen, here with us tonight. The Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate is Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester of Wilmington, Delaware. Representative Blunt Rochester declined to participate in our debate and is not here. In the interest of public service,
A lot of people declining this year.
with Mr. Hansen. The University of Delaware's Center for Political Communication highly values offering Delaware voters a face-to-face discussion of vital public issues among the candidates for high national elective office. We consider debates like this one among the historically important traditions of democracy. Voters get a chance to see candidates in structure.
We've apparently got another North Dakota debate tonight.
Before the ballots are cast.
I don't know if you guys remember, that was
University of Delaware,
really
the state's
boring.
flagship institution, undertakes this task in election years as a civic responsibility to the state in support of civil public dialogue. Mr.
We're
Hansen,
watching that one, M.
University of
Lord.
Delaware and to Delaware.
If that happens, we're totally watching that.
Thank you, Mr. Begleiter.
Mr. Hansen has agreed in advance to rules for this program, including holding his responses to specific time limits. We also have some questions posed by a student, Senior Casey Nyman, executive producer for the Student Television Network here at UD. Although the candidate has agreed there will be no opening statements, you will hear his closing statement later. We'll try to keep our questions concise.
What do you guys think? Should we ditch this?
So that we can cover as much ground as possible. Let's focus first, Mr. Hansen, on what I think is the issue that is topmost on the minds of most
man of the people
voters in the country.
Politically says
and that is the
pass.
economy. Even though national data on jobs,
Go back to Gloria.
sales, production, all show the economy is in good
Anonymously. This isn't even a debate.
steps you would take if elected to make voters feel.
Sparkles, good evening. So, once again, the same thing happened in Tennessee. However, it is the Republican candidate who didn't show up. The Democratic candidate did show up. She's amazing. Her name is Gloria Johnson.
And now we are going to move forward. And of course, it is our hope that Senator Blackburn will attend. If at some point she does show up tonight, of course
she does not show up.
Will continue to be extended, and she will be invited to sit with us up here and participate. All right, let's move forward now with tonight's discussion. And again, your voice. Reminder for the cards, if you could fill in your questions and pose your questions so we can have those for our guests tonight. Now, here's the funny thing. Representative Johnson won the coin toss, so regardless, you were going to go first. Fair enough. Is that still okay with you to go first?
I didn't remember the coin toss.
All right. Tonight's questions have been created by the Tennessee Holler and MLK 50. We are going to start first discussing the hurricane. Now, here's our first question. Last week, East Tennessee was rocked by Hurricane Helene. The damage was devastating, and the area will be rebuilding for quite some time. Now, despite bipartisan praise from governors in the Southeast, many Republicans have been very critical of the FEMA response, perpetuating some blatant lies.
Despite not voting for it,
and FEMA workers
not bringing it for a vote, Mike
to
Johnson.
relocate. What do you think about the FEMA response and the Biden administration's response in general to the storms? And if elected, would you support more funding for FEMA where it needed, or do you believe FEMA should be defunded, as Representative Tim Burchett said, and largely privatized as spelled out in the Project 2025 plan? And let me say, forgive me, you have 90 seconds to answer. Our handsome Justin Canoe is our timekeeper tonight. If at any point you need me to repeat the
Justin
questions,
who?
I will gladly do so. And your time will not start until you begin answering.
Okay. Thank you. Well, it's very concerning to me that my opponent, 2 days before the hurricane, voted against that hurricane relief. And we knew that Tennessee was going to be affected. We should have acted. And my opponent was voting against that
DJ Dub
in D.C. The governor also waited 2 days later than the other southern states to request that assistance.
Lenny, good evening.
But
got a story from Massachusetts for you tonight.
A few hours. And so we have
tomorrow night we're going to be watching your Senate debate.
Tennessee, they are doing the work. And we certainly have to have all hands on deck because Tennessee families have been devastated. So many of them have lost absolutely everything. And
Miss Elizabeth Warren.
About this for a week or two, but this is literally something
debating. I don't remember what the dude's name is.
For months and months, and we have to continue to be there for them.
Barton something or other, I think.
My opponent and the candidate for U.S. president on the other side of the aisle wants to tell lies about what FEMA is doing,
John Deaton,
what their mission is. It is only causing further damage to those families. It's only taking them longer. So I would absolutely support FEMA, support more funding for FEMA if it is needed. And I also would educate people on the ground of what FEMA's job actually is, because they have gotten too much misinformation about that, and it's hurting families.
Thank you very much. And staying with the storm response just for a moment, Governor Lee has just announced
State Representative Gloria Johnson running for Senate against
loans
Marsha Blackburn, a very long shot candidacy.
Folks on both the right and left have been critical of the plan.
Marsha Blackburn did not show up. Lucky, good evening.
To corporations in the form.
We're going to watch the Delaware Senate debate, but the Democratic candidate, Lisa Blunt Rochester, did not show up.
$44 million sitting idle for private school vouchers, which he says he still plans on going.
Vouchers is a huge issue in Tennessee.
About Governor Lee's plans to give loans to the East Tennessee counties, and do you think that the state should just be giving the money to those counties to rebuild instead?
I absolutely am horrified that our governor, who had no problem giving a $1.8 billion tax cut to corporations, 53% of those tax dollars going to other states outside of Tennessee. and is saying that he will give loans to these folks who are devastated. People who don't have a place to live, people who don't have food and don't have the supplies that they need. And he's talking about
Just wanted to show everyone.
alone. The reality is,
Senator Marsha Blackburn,
money there.
her
for the
name is
people when
on
it
a
is-
chair.
We have a rainy
Covered
day
up by my
fund.
camera.
In addition to that, we have other funds as well that we can assist Tennesseans in
Ponder Monkey, good evening.
dire need. And that there's no reason we can't do that here in Tennessee. But I think it's like a slap in the face to these families who are devastated to say you will give them a loan. It's just outrageous. You give tax breaks for corporations constantly in this state, but you have nothing for Tennessee families who have lost everything. I think that we can do better for Tennesseans, and honestly, that is why I decided to run, because Tennessee families, hardworking Tennessee families, are getting the short end of the sticks, and our supermajority and Tennessee Republicans are taking care of the wealthy, the well-connected, and lobbyists and billionaires.
She is amazing. I would love to see her in federal government, but she's doing a bang-up job in state government.
This next question is brought to you by MLK 50, Justice Through Journalism. What is your, excuse me again, we cannot have disruption in the forum. We cannot, Representative Johnson,
Yes.
the question is, what
Wow.
is your plan for ensuring that the city of Memphis and Shelby County
They were getting rowdy at the
direct
Delaware debate as well.
on-the-ground support to improve public safety outside of increasing unchecked funding to law enforcement agencies? And if you need me to repeat that, I can.
Great question.
No, that's okay. Thank you. It is critical, and I've been to Memphis many times, and throughout this campaign spent a lot of time talking to folks about that very issue. And the reality is, what we are not doing in Tennessee when it comes to violent crime is anything about prevention. There are so many things that we can do addressing prevention on the front end so that we have 30 to 40% less violent crime. By expanding Medicaid, every single state that has expanded Medicaid within 3 years, their violent crime rate dropped by 19 to 29%. 19 to 29% of violent crime dropped. Drug crime dropped 21 to 43% when Medicaid was expanded. These states saved between $1 and $5 billion because of the drop in violent crime. So you can put those monies back in to programs that lift people up instead. Another thing that you can do, my opponent absolutely refuses to raise the wage from $7.25, the federal minimum wage that Tennessee operates on.
You're here.
Absolutely refuses to do that. And so another study will tell you that when you raise the minimum wage, violent crime drops from between 5 and 10%. Between 5 and the 10% is typically with your juveniles to young adults. That's where you see the biggest drop. So what that does is it prevents that young
She is
person
an excellent
from ever
politician.
committing that first crime. That's what you see when you raise the wage.
Unfortunately, she is not going to lose.
Making sure
Marsha will be the senator from Tennessee, and it's a shame.
And that is something
Tennessee deserves
doing
a senator like Gloria Johnson.
to things like that Vice President Harris and President Biden have already done with the Office of Gun Violence and the first legislation to put in protections with gun violence in years. But that's what I would do.
Fantastic.
All right, now let's move to education. Governor Lee plans to bring back his private school vouchers.
Exactly,
plan
Lucky.
next
Preach it.
session, steering
I mean,
hundreds
minimum
of
wage should be
millions to
25
private
fucking
schools.
bucks at this point.
The plan did not move forward last session because there were many Republicans who were not on board, but millions flowed into Tennessee Republican primaries from out-of-state sources supportive of vouchers, meaning next session there could be more support for it. The push for vouchers is also happening on a national level as well, as outlined in Project 2025.
Bullshit.
In Iowa, in the first 2 years of their vouchers plan, 36 new private schools opened while 16 public schools closed. In Arizona, their vouchers have exploded their state budget. What are your feelings about public money going to private schools, and do you feel our schools in Tennessee are properly funded?
Well, you know, my colleagues in the State House would say that our public schools are failing. That's a lie. Our state legislature.
Poon, is that your puppy? Your avatar? Hold on, what did she say?
You feel
I'm sorry, I talked over it.
Tennessee are properly funded.
Well, you know, my colleagues in the State House would say that our public schools are failing. That's a lie. Our state legislature is failing our public schools.
Great applause line.
They have been strangling them of the dollars they need and not fully funding our public schools in the attempt to make it look as if we need some other solution. And then they bring in their privatizing efforts like charter schools and vouchers. And here's what we know about those things. We know that charter schools have never proven to be the answer and be a better choice. These folks, they talk about school choice. You have to have a choice. Well, we should have a choice, but we should have a better choice. Charter schools do not perform nearly as well as public schools. And in every single state that has vouchers,
Kelly, good evening.
Voucher students perform worse than their public school peers. Same thing in Tennessee.
We're bong bros.
Voucher student performs at a lower level than their public school peers. And so if we want to offer a choice, shouldn't that choice be a better choice? Should we spend more money for a worse choice? This does not make sense. The only reason we are talking about this thing because it benefits corporations, hedge fund managers, and venture capitalists. It does not benefit the 1 million kids in Tennessee that go to school. Now, 95% of people went to public school, and they like their public school. We need to improve. There's no question about that.
Poor Lord, good evening.
Siphon funds away from public schools and then say they're doing a bad job and pour money into solutions that have never once proven to be better.
Not that I heard, Shelley.
I would call ignorance. And so we are seeing it at the state level and we're seeing it at the federal level because my opponent wants to defund the Federal Department of Education, which gives kids who need it lunch and breakfast every day. Kids that go to bed hungry in Tennessee, that is where the dollars come that pay for their school lunches. Special ed services. I taught special education for 27 years. The kids I taught got the programs that they need. So when they graduated, and my kids graduated, at 95% of my kids graduated with a regular ed diploma, and they were special ed kids. And it was because we gave them the programs that they needed. And so they became successful adults. They went to 4-year universities. They went to 2-year community colleges. They went to TCATs. And some of my kids went to the military and did 20 years
I want to play with the
TCATs because they got what they needed. And the other bucket of that federal money is Title I dollars.
Does that mean tabby
goes
cat?
to bring equity to every school so that every kid, no matter their zip code, has a well-resourced classroom. And it is critical because I believe public education is the bedrock of democracy, and it's what lifts all of our kids. So let's offer choices like the really great magnet schools that are here, that are
MAGA
in Nashville,
schools.
that are in Knoxville. Let's offer choices like Knoxville has career prep, where the high school is in the same building as Pellissippi Community College, and the kids can take college courses and be certified in certain vocational areas when they graduate high school. That's what a choice is that works for a child. Community schools that are just your traditional neighborhood school, funding programs after school and providing resources that kids need. Those are solutions. Privatizing is not a solution, and it's been proven time and time again. It's that money ends up going 60, 70, 80% of the time to subsidize
Pumpkin
wealthy
spice
private
Trump.
education, because some of those kids that are getting those vouchers never once attended a public school to begin with.
Thank you so much.
Hell yeah, Gloria.
And as we continue through our questions, I do want to remind everyone you can still submit your question. We see Mr. Justin.
You cannot submit your question because this happened like an hour ago.
We'll not miss them.
Or it aired like an hour ago.
Or
I think it
comment,
might have been
feel free
recorded
to
a couple
write
of
it
days
down,
ago.
And he will drop it in the basket, and we will read it out a little bit later. All right, this next question
Because they
is
said
from
the
MLK 50,
hurricane
Justice
was
for
last
Journalism.
week.
If
It was like 2
elected,
weeks ago at
how
this
will you
point.
seek increased funding for public schools?
We've had a whole other hurricane
That
since
funding
then.
target.
Getting ready for one more.
Well, that is, there's so many ways that we can allot that funding. And so what we've seen when increases from the federal government, most of what we see there is a lot of funding for more educators or more social workers. We need to increase the number of nurses in our public schools. So many times in underserved schools, there are not the number of social workers that you need and counselors and that type of thing. Mental health services that we can offer through our schools. I taught
Happy birthday,
behavior
anonymously.
disorder teenagers. So that's why, to me and to my classroom, it was so critical that we had
Aw, damn. Aw, damn. You on your birthday get a titty slap. Wait a minute, where'd it go? There it is.
A titty slap! What the? Come on now.
I always said I needed my version of like the shofar that Sam has. I guess mine's the titty slap. If it's your birthday, you get a titty slap. I was always using it in a negative connotation, that I felt like if somebody was doing something bad, I would give them a titty slap. However, the media wench made the song, and she says it in a positive connotation. If you play your cards right, you'll get a titty slap. So now I guess I've adopted it in that manner. All right, apparently this gets really contentious. Vice President Kamala Harris was on with Brett Baer on Fox News. Oh shit, the channel that I had it from has made it members only. Fuck you. Fox News has probably put it up by now. They have.
Pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries.
He's already watched it.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration?
It just aired like an hour ago or something.
The last 3.5 years.
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be.
Good evening.
So the Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have an
It's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies.
Sassy.
Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy.
And she's probably glad that they started with immigration, because they're like, ooh, we get it out of the way.
Included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
6 Democrats voted against that.
I kind of like that she's running all over him.
Bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a
what she's saying is not good, but the way she's saying it is excellent. Her delivery.
This is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives.
Why did they vote against it?
These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Ngeri, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true
Question mark.
that if border security had actually been passed,
Harris is going into enemy territory.
That we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock.
So far, she's bullying him.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration
brought receipts.
policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in
her?
all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no
correct
in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious
down at the border.
They will tell you we need more judges.
Out in the street.
We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question. There were 90-plus executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the...
Yes, there are.
...for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over.
Move on to immigration.
Of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
Decriminalize these nuts.
Decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
No, but let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career
Good evening.
going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border.
This is Vice President Kamala Harris on Fox News in enemy territory.
I will do that work as vice president. I take that work
so far has been.
This is a time when voters, especially
bullying Brett Baer,
are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Based.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for
that. Was good.
No gender transition
well,
surgeries
you know what? You got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in this presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on plans for the American people, I'm offering a plan to...
I'm just glad she didn't throw trans people under the bus.
...deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and
He's
giving
pivoting and specifically not throwing trans people under the bus, and I count that as a win.
As have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker, would ignite inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you
feel sorry for her. She's having to walk a tightrope.
My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first
we're gonna
of all,
watch
turning
more
the
like
page from
a week
the last
from Monday,
decade, in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country.
We're watching King Diamond and
Americans
Alice Cooper this
point
Monday.
Fingers at each other.
It's coming Monday.
Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
people
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track...
Yeah, but a lot of us think it's on the wrong track for
years of you being Vice President,
capitalism
President Biden being President. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam Vice President.
You and I both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade...
Never change, warlord.
People have become... But listen...
I can't wait for this election to be over and get like a more softer warlord back.
With me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump,
a friendlier warlord,
defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable.
Let's hope to God it's over with this time next month.
People are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and
it's like 19 days away.
Grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is
ain't easy, baby.
So are they misguided? The 50%? Are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say
they are
that
stupid.
About the American people. And in fact,
I will. They're fucking stupid.
If you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks.
Another excellent answer.
Within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall.
Hey, now, I was trying to get people organized around Katie Porter.
I heard about that. They
January fucking 23rd.
They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations.
Look, we need to primary Joe Biden.
Alphonse Capone, he was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you...
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that.
There is no fairness
and here's
and
the bottom
respect.
line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know...
Math, you say...
turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley
fired up. Goddamn.
About Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
The significance of that.
You call Donald Trump... he's misguided. You say now he's unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
Yes.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Come on, man.
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
But
is.
you talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand.
She probably didn't see him that often.
3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
Bowen Yang's going to play Brett.
About Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out, even people who worked for him in the Oval Office,
You're right.
worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job
Unless he has to be J.D. Vance in the sketch.
For him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in
Hope 60 Minutes don't fucking get me.
American blood on their hands. Okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure
America, and I'm a citizen.
Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power. That is.
I got concerns about Biden in this term.
Experts thought you would say China.
That's besides the point, Ponder Monkey. I think he's got good people around him.
If that's the case, what do you
I don't think the government's like
who
falling
look
off
at
the
the actions
rails.
of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several hours on each occasion, that Iran posed a threat to Israel. I was there, most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself, and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against
Seriously, we've got to stop talking like
and
that.
Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
But those
is
proxies were getting funded by
Israel is the threat.
unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing
Israel poses a threat
flow into
to the U.S. Israel poses a threat to
who pulled out
Jews all over the world.
But here are
Iran in check.
the estimates
and
in
then
billions
It was during Donald Trump's
that go
administration
towards
that
Israel
Iran
poses a threat to all its neighbors,
a
Lebanon,
military base that was attacked, where
Syria,
American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches. Not to mention
Madam
how
Vice
Donald
President,
Trump has
all of this money
has treated
that
and
has
talked
gone
about
in the
America's
past few
military
years,
and military service people,
critics
calling
say
them
that it goes to
suckers and
Hezbollah,
losers,
Hamas,
has diminished
and
the
Houthis.
significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation
Brett Baer condemned.
grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presenting.
I mean, of course it's going to be adversarial.
The contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering...
And usually I like Brett.
...what should be an important contrast that is presented to make a decision
and there are critics
that they feel...
who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more to say,
There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why we
I invite
you
everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do.
And that's why we invited you here, to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard rap
Well,
here.
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
She bullied him. That's what she needed to do. She needed to go on and look strong. It's not about policy, though. Like, it's seriously, especially, I think it was about 30 minutes, Squirrel, and it did go by really fast. It can't be about policy just because, like, it's only what she had fucking 60 days or something like that. It's kind of impossible. But also something like, I saw it coming. Warlord saw it coming. I had the artwork ready for weeks. For when Joe Biden stepped down.
Come on, man.
I got some news for you. I mentioned it last night. Jimmy Carter made it. Here's Jimmy Carter voting for president.
A strong day of turnout as Georgia voters continue heading to the polls for early voting. More than 209,000 people have cast their ballots so far today, including at least one former president. Jimmy Carter cast his ballot by mail, according to the Carter Center. He recently turned 100, and his grandson says the Georgia Democrat has been eager to get his vote in.
He said he wanted to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris. Sir, I hope you live long enough to see her win the presidency. I truly do. The campaigns are on what is being called a battleground blitz.
20 days to go now until Election Day. Both former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are getting out of their comfort zones to reach as many people as possible. Trump is being interviewed by Univision, while Harris is going on Fox News. The vice president is also making a campaign stop in Washington Crossing, Bucks County, later on this afternoon. ABC's Perry Russum has the latest.
The candidates on a battleground state blitz. Vice President Kamala Harris heading to Pennsylvania today, Wisconsin tomorrow, then Michigan on Friday and Saturday, and a stop in Georgia. Former President Trump also in Michigan later this week, then heading to Pennsylvania. Trump in Chicago yesterday, claiming January 6th was a day of love and peace. Trump pushing false claims of police inviting rioters into the Capitol.
It was love and peace.
It was love and peace.
To the Capitol. And a lot of strange things happened there. A lot of strange things with people being waved into the Capitol by police.
Nearly 500 people have been charged with assaulting police officers. Nearly half convicted or pleading guilty. Today, Trump reaching out to female voters in a pre-taped town hall on Fox News.
We had the safest border. We had the best economy. Think of it, a combination of security and finance.
Harris working to sway conservative voters. She's campaigning today with more than 100 Republicans and sitting down for her first ever interview with Fox News. Harris appealing to black voters in Detroit yesterday.
Detroit is going to help deliver Michigan, by the way.
In an interview with Charlemagne the God, Harris says she plans to boost black home ownership, grow generational wealth, and lower prescription drug costs.
They are trying to scare people away because they know they otherwise have nothing to run on. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for black America.
In battleground Georgia, long lines on the first day of early in-person voting yesterday. Last night, a judge blocking a rule approved by a pro-Trump election board that would have required ballots to be hand-counted. The judge saying the rule adds uncertainty and disorder to the election.
And new numbers on the record-setting day in Georgia. More than 300,000 people voting yesterday. That's more than double the previous record set in 2020.
More than double? Holy shit. That is good news for Democrats. I was more than double. Jesus. Trump indeed did a sit down with Harris Faulkner earlier on Fox News.
This morning of a town hall with former President Donald Trump. My team and I traveled to the beautiful town of Cumming, just outside of Atlanta, in the battleground state of Georgia. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. The race to the White House in that state could not be closer. Trump holds a lead over Vice President Kamala Harris of less than a full percentage point in the Real Clear Politics average of polls. If there is any doubt about whether voters there are invested, this will put those doubts to rest. Early voting kicked off in Georgia, and the record was shattered yesterday. More than 300,000 people casting a ballot in a single day. More than doubling the number from 2020. And this is key information. You'll see why in just a moment. In 2020, President Biden won the women's vote by 12 points over former President Trump. And a recent Fox News poll shows Vice President Kamala Harris is up among women by 10 points. The audience there, along with me, the former president, all women. They put very specific and sometimes very personal questions to Trump on issues which matter most to them. The economy,
liberal were
crime,
Republican officials,
safety, abortion, childcare, illegal immigration, protecting
county
women and girls
election
in
officials,
sports. Those
county
questions
Republican
and
Party
Trump's answers
representatives.
now. I want to introduce the 45th President of the United States, the Republican nominee for this year's presidential election, Donald J. Trump. Welcome.
He's got a stripe tie on. He's switching it up.
So I have to tell you,
what does the chat think?
A little taste of what it's like to roll with you. So early voting.
Is he gonna win? Is he gonna lose?
The state of Georgia just began, and they're already at 250,000 people.
2 weeks away.
That will break a record in the state. And I cannot believe how people come for you already. I don't know if you know this.
Come for him and
but
coming.
Early voting is a sign that people are coming out, as you know.
Right.
But it's also a sign that there might be a few people who have something to say. So I want to share with you Senators Warnock and Ossoff, Mayor Bottoms and Atlanta Mayor Bottoms.
Mayor Bottoms.
Thurman's family have come out on a press call. And they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
A pre-buttal.
Yeah. And I want to
get better ratings, I promise.
I want to get your reaction to something, because I was a little thrown aback about how quickly this fight would start. And, oh, by the way, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota who wants to be the next vice president, his wife is showing up.
Where?
Tomorrow, here.
Sure.
Yep, she has an issue with the women's issues town hall. All right, so let's take a look at what Senator Warnock had to say. I want to get, for the first time, former President Trump's
I feel like she doesn't make any sense.
what's going on here in Georgia. Let's watch.
If you even Trump needed to follow up. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Is to send this man one step closer to the White House, which finally, let me say, will be literally dangerous for so many of the people that we know. Dangerous, as we've demonstrated, for women. But this man, let me remind the Black men who are listening, the men of color, communities of color, he will be dangerous.
Dangerous.
You are up with minority voters.
Yeah.
Vice President Kamala Harris is hurting right now in that category of voting bloc.
Right.
And they know all women are at this town hall. This is a pre-buttal from a short time ago.
When she says up with minority voters, she means like
we just got
from 10%
the
to
endorsement
16%.
of Border Patrol all over. I mean, all over the country. Border Patrol,
just put that in
virtually
perspective,
every
by the
sheriff's
way.
department, every police department, the Fraternal Order of Police, 400,000 police, the biggest in the country.
Not high enough for this shit.
I don't think they have a policeman or a
I was thinking she was looking
single.
cute, Torchy.
And we have the border, we have the safest
Also, good
border in the
evening.
history of our country. Now we have the most unsafe border in the history of our country. So when you talk about safety, we had, it was just announced, as you know, last
I thought it was the most human I've ever seen her look.
Murderers were released into our country. Drug dealers, drug addicts, everybody is released into our country. We've never had anything like this. We've never had a mess like this. 620.
She looked like she could be a backup singer
country, along with
for a girl group.
No idea
like,
who they are.
Salt and Pepper.
And, you know, that's
Info.
just a soundbite. I don't know this guy, but he got lucky as hell to win. I'll tell you that much. But it's a soundbite that they like to use. But remember this: law enforcement's with me 100%, and we have to keep our community safe. And we have to take these murderers that they've allowed.
You see the Candace fan that we had in the chat last night?
Anything about them? We have to take those people and we have to remove them. We have to get them out of our country.
We're going to get into all of it. I want.
She's so excited.
Hands. Who voted early today? All right.
Oh, it was a show of hands.
Who did they vote for?
I'm sorry.
That was the first thing you wanted to know.
Are we
How many
allowed to
voted
ask
for me?
that? Who did you vote?
It was a show of hands. I gloated too
I
early.
feel good about how the economy is right now. No.
Yeah.
You have our first question on the economy. We will start there. Your first name, please, and tell us your hometown.
My name is Lisa, and I live in the city of Milton. First of all, welcome back to Georgia, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
Americans are concerned about the state of our economy. Democrats argue that your policies favor the wealthy, especially through tax cuts for billionaires, while the middle class continues to struggle these last 3.5 years under the Biden-Harris administration. Could you outline your plans to revitalize the economy again as president and policies that specifically support the middle class when reelected?
Sure. Thank you very much. Great question. And sort of an easy question for me to answer because we have tremendous wealth in this country, but it's under our feet. It's called liquid gold. And we're going to bring down your energy costs, and with that, everything's going to follow. We're also going to make it possible for companies to come into our country again. You know, we've lost so many businesses. If you're in furniture making, like in North Carolina, they're flocking out of our country because we have politicians that don't know what to do. We're bringing them all back. We have a tax rate that's going to lure them, and we're going to protect them with tariffs so they can make money and so they don't get stolen. But we're going to have record-setting jobs.
Professor Q.
I mean, the advantage I have is that I've done it. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had never had an economy. And remember this, we also had the safest border in the history of our country. We never had a border that safe. The famous graph that I looked at, you know, my all-time.
The graph that he sleeps with.
I mean,
that he fucks.
My all-time favorite. I love that piece of paper. But that shows you.
He fucks that piece of paper.
Office, the border was the safest it ever was in the history of our country.
Ever.
We had the fewest number of people. We have the least amount of drugs. Everything was human trafficking, which is now
we need more drugs.
Higher than it was.
More drugs. More drugs.
I say this mostly in women. It's a vicious thing because of the internet and because of this administration, maybe more so than the internet. But we had the safest border. We had the best economy. Think of it, a combination of security and finance and all of the other things. And we're going to make it even better. We're going to make the border even better. But the border can't. I mean, we did things with the border that nobody could have done, including we built 571 miles of wall. And that wall worked. Then I got Mexico.
We built this wall.
A lot of soldiers, 28,000 soldiers to protect us. I said, you have to protect us because you're letting all of these criminals come into our country. You have to protect us. They said, we're not going to do it. I said, good, then I'm just going to tariff all your goods until you do it. They said, like I said, we're going to do it. And they gave us
Let's start saying that to women in the bedroom.
And we had the
I'm going to tear you good, baby.
Okay, let's get back to the economy. According to America's Health Ranking Organization, 70.7% of Americans aged 65 and over voted in the past presidential election. So women are the largest
real hair
registered and active group of voters.
You just kind of put it on.
Social Security is important to some women, and people over the age of 65 are a very large voting.
I feel like it's important to balance it out, Mary Jane.
Not tax some of that Social Security money. How would that work?
We're not going to tax any of the Social Security money.
Both of them have weird hair.
Seniors, because what you've done, What they've done to you with inflation is a disaster.
Double down on trickle down.
But in terms of really the numbers, it's the inflation. We had the worst. They say it's in 48 years. I say ever.
That's probably a good rule of thumb in the history of our
country. And the ones that really got hurt the worst are people that are on a fixed income, like our seniors. And I said we're not going to tax Social Security benefits on our seniors, and we're not.
And we can pay for that.
And that will a little bit more than even make up to what you. I mean, you lost.
Yeah, I'm done with Trump. Yeah, oh God, there's still so much more of this left. I was like, we have to be towards the end of it. But I gotta play the thing that really went viral from this interview. Nora O'Donnell's going to talk about it.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nora O'Donnell. We're going to begin tonight with the race for president and new questions about the mental health and behavior of former President Donald Trump. President Biden, campaigning for Vice President Kamala Harris on Tuesday, said Trump has become unhinged, referring to a campaign event this week where Trump swayed to music for 40 minutes. Trump, now 78, would be the oldest person to become president, but he is refusing to disclose his medical records, which is something presidential nominees traditionally do. In a town hall aimed at courting women last night, Trump made numerous false and strange statements,
he did it before,
including claiming to be the father of in vitro fertilization. We also have new reporting tonight on the Harris campaign, including her new outreach to Republicans looking for an alternative to Trump. CBS's Nicole Killing is going to lead us off with more on Donald
is
Trump
an
and what his
understatement.
team is saying tonight. Good evening, Nicole.
Good evening to you, Nora. Even as former President Trump tries to expand his base, he continues to double down on controversial comments.
We really are the party for IVF. We want fertilization, and it's all the way.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump under fire after making this strange claim about in vitro fertilization to an all-female town hall.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
He made the claim less than 90 seconds before
What does that even mean?
Senator Katie Britt had explained it to him.
I said, explain IVF very quickly, and within about 2 minutes, I understood it.
The procedure has been around for nearly 50 years. An official with the Trump campaign told CBS News the former president was simply reaffirming his support and made the comments in jest. But it was no laughing matter for his opponent, the vice president.
Donald Trump,
what does it mean?
Actually called himself the father of IVF. And if what he meant is taking responsibility, well, then, yeah, he should take responsibility for the fact that 1 in 3 women in America lives in a Trump abortion ban state.
In another town hall geared toward Latino voters, the former president also resurrected debunked claims about Haitian immigrants eating pets, but took them a step further.
I was just saying what was reported, that's been reported, and eating other things, too, that they're not supposed to be. But this is, all I do is report. I was there, I'm going to be there, and we're going to take a look, and I'll give you a full report when I do.
That, along with his recent behavior, including dancing on stage, has led Harris to question what she calls his unstable behavior.
Well, the dancing is the most fun.
On Trump to release his medical records after Harris released hers this weekend. Trump told CBS 2 months ago he would make them public.
You are now the oldest candidate in this race. Will you release your medical records?
Sure, I do. I just had a medical exam, and I had a perfect score.
Perfect score.
He recently released a vaguely worded letter and other information from his doctors. Meantime, the former president is getting a big fundraising boost tonight, pulling in about $220 million last quarter from a trio of billionaire donors, including Elon Musk. Nora?
Oh, that makes sense.
In Atlanta, thank you.
Made a lot more sense when you said it was just 3 billionaires. Snicks, good evening. What does it mean to be the father of IVF? Trying to see if I have a longer version. The Georgia election case has a new twist as Fani Willis is trying to get some of the charges that got dropped against Trump reinstated.
Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis wants the Georgia Court of Appeals to reinstate 6 criminal charges against Donald Trump and 5 of his co-defendants.
Yeah, this is the latest twist in this election interference.
Prometheus.
So in the court documents, the DA's office...
Okay, totally not a KISS shirt. It says hiss and has cats. I did not go out and buy a KISS shirt after watching the concert the other night. It says hiss.
This wants the court to overturn a March decision by Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee. He ruled that prosecutors were not specific.
That's exactly what you should think.
Filed against them, so they could not properly defend themselves. Now, the dismissed 6 felony counts involved accusations that the former president and his co-defendants illegally urged Georgia officials, including Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, to violate their oath of office and convene a special legislative session to appoint pro-Trump electors. No word on when the appellate court could take up that appeal.
You got me, Warlord. It says SS. Clip it and put it in the Discord. So that's not the only movement on election-related cases.
From Washington, where Special Counsel Jack Smith has responded to a claim by Donald Trump's team that he bears no factual or legal responsibility for the events of January the 6th. MSNBC legal analyst Danny Cevallos is with us this morning. Danny, good morning. What's in this new filing?
So essentially, this is just the government's response to Donald Trump's team's motion to dismiss the case. And one of the key central arguments is based on a Supreme Court case called Fisher. And in Fisher, the court looked at the obstruction statute, one of these statutes that Trump is charged with. And they asked the question, is the language of this statute, is it a general obstruction? So any way that you obstruct an official congressional proceeding, is that enough? Or does the language instead mean that you have to affect a document or a thing? And I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially, is it just generally obstructing, or is it interfering with a document or a thing? And the government here responds that this Supreme Court decision didn't completely eviscerate this federal criminal statute. It didn't completely do away with the pleading requirements. And most importantly, Trump, they say, ignores the fact that he did, in a sense, interfere with documents or things, most notably the slates of fake electors and the vote itself. There are documents and things involved. So the government argues that Trump's attempt to get the case tossed is without merit.
So what's the next step here, Danny?
Fuck Danny. I think his name was Danny. I don't remember. Let's do some crime stories, and I think I have a police chase. I think. I make no promises. Okay, just make sure I didn't have anything new pulled up here. We're first gonna watch a man fight off carjackers. It's apparently got video of it.
All new this morning, a DC bartender lucky to still be alive, and maybe, you know, he's lucky to even have his car this morning after everything that he went through.
Goodness, take a look at this video. 3 young men trying to steal his car over the weekend as he went to pump gas on his way to work. This happened near the popular nightlife area of Blagden Alley at the Sunoco near 9th and N Streets in Northwest. And that's where we find Jess Arnold this morning, area of Blagden Alley at the Sunoco near 9th and N Streets in Northwest. And that's where we find Jess Arnold this morning. And Jess, this highlights a problem we've been talking about really often in the district. We're talking about carjacking.
Yeah. I have no idea, Squirrel. What in the fuck was that? I was wondering the same. Is it sand from the hurricane? Where did this happen at? It's WUSA. I don't even know. I have no idea.
And streets in Northwest, and that's where we find Jess
Fentanyl.
Arnold this morning. And Jess, this highlights a problem we've been talking about really often in the district. We're talking about carjacking.
Oh, this happened in Washington. It could be snow.
Yeah, and a good reminder, as this bartender says, to keep your head on a swivel when you're out and about. Now, Randy White's a local bartender at Calico, which is right nearby this gas station that's behind me. He said that he had just stopped by here to grab a few items from the convenience store here at the Sunoco gas station.
Wait a minute, why would it be Washington if it's a W?
This was before his Saturday shift started at 6 p.m. He said he was walking out of the
DC
store when three
Not
young
the
men who
state.
he describes as teenagers attacked.
As soon as I get in front of my car, I hear the fast.
Is it gravel?
Approaching, and so I knew at that point, so I turn around, and then that's when the scuffle ensued, and immediately, I didn't want to fight them. I knew what was coming. I knew they were going to try and take my car, but I worked way too hard for myself just to relinquish it like that.
So as you can see in the surveillance video from the gas station, he decided to fight back. Randy says they told him to give over his things and put him in a chokehold. His keys then fell out of his pocket, so he grabbed at them, and this ended up being his Hail Mary, because as he and one of the three attackers pulled at the key fob for his car, it broke in half. You can see that some of the young men tried to get into his car, so Randy did as well, and then they ended up getting out soon after and just running off. They left his car, but they did take his broken car key and actually his apartment key too that was with it. After they took off, Randy says he noticed that one of them had dropped an AR-15 magazine.
Whoa!
He did not see a gun on any of them. Now, Randy said he was most disappointed that no one in the busy area ran to help him as he yelled out for help.
Mentally, I'm still processing it a little bit. But my body is kind of messed up a little bit. My knees are all torn to shreds. My hands, I had such a strong grip on the guy's shirt and everything that
he's got really pretty hair.
My knuckles, so it was so tight. You fall off the bike, you get back on. I'm not gonna let it ruin my life about it. Just you got to be more vigilant.
Always good advice to stay vigilant, especially because Randy says this is not the first issue he has had with his car in this area. Less than 2 years ago, he said his car was actually stolen. He came out of his home to find it gone one morning in this very same neighborhood.
Aww.
That video is so dramatic. I'm just so glad he is okay after that. But Jess, we've talked a lot about this rising number of carjackings in the district. Where does that number stand right now?
Yeah, I took a look at police data this morning to get an idea, and it shows that we're at a little over 400 reported carjackings year to date.
Check out her earrings.
Almost half as many as we were at last year at the same time. So that's good news data-wise. Of course, does not bring much comfort to people who have to experience this kind of incident like Randy did. And when it comes to closing these cases, but because police do have an open investigation into this incident, they're at about 25% of these year-to-date carjackings that have arrests.
I bet she's cool. Check out the jacket and everything.
400 year-to-date, though. That's no small number. All right, Jess, thank you so much. So glad he's okay.
Thought they were guillotines. I've got a friend that has guillotine earrings or a necklace or something like that. Roads were closed this morning in Santa Monica after for a standoff with the shooting suspect.
Yes, we begin with breaking news, a SWAT situation in El Segundo.
Santa Monica police tell us it is connected to the shooting that happened at Santa Monica College last night, which left a victim critically injured. KTLA's Gil Levis is overhead with more. Gil?
Chair Micah, you're looking at the scene here. This is on Aviation Boulevard, just north of El Segundo Boulevard. It was an hours-long standoff with a man with a gun inside of that black sedan. It has come to an end. We are working to get...
Who that man in a black sedan?
The condition of that suspect that was in that vehicle, if he was shot, if he was dead at the scene or transported. We're waiting on word from the Hawthorne Police Department here. But the Aviation Boulevard remains shut down as they investigate this hours-long standoff with the man with the gun here. As I come out to a wide shot, you see Aviation Boulevard completely shut down.
They totally shot him.
On El Segundo Boulevard is very heavy right now in this area, so you're going to want to avoid this area. But for now, this hours-long standoff has come to an end, and now the investigation is
I said
underway.
this
That's
morning it says it's 5 o'clock p.m.
I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Gil, thank you. And police are calling the campus shooting of the employee a case of workplace violence. One witness tells us that she is a custodian.
She remains in critical condition tonight. KTLA's Gene Kang live from Santa Monica with more on this breaking story. Gene.
Hey, Gene.
Share, well, police are telling us once again this is such a disturbing case of workplace violence. In fact, that shooting happened here at a satellite campus in the building right behind me here at Santa Monica College. As you mentioned, what we're learning from witnesses is that they're telling us this was a female custodian who was shot. Police are saying she is now in the hospital in critical condition. This video shows the victim being placed into an ambulance by medics moments after the shooting. Police say gunfire erupted just before 10 last night at the Center for Media and Design on Stewart Street. The victim, believed to be a woman, was severely wounded. Campus police have confirmed that last night's shooting was not a random act of violence. While the police department is leading this investigation, they believe this was an isolated event, posing no ongoing threat to the community.
We were still on campus when the shooting was happening. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It could have been one of us.
When I found out, when I got home, I was really shocked because I would think if there was a shooting, especially a shooter on campus, then they would evacuate us from the campus, which they didn't.
Out of caution, all Santa Monica College campuses are closed today. Some students say this is terrifying to hear and that they didn't receive any school text alerts or robocalls until roughly 3 hours after the incident. We spoke to a national security expert about safety and workplace violence.
If it took 3 hours to send out an emergency alert for a shooting on a school, then they were 3 hours too late to the game.
Question that I have is, what kind of person were they employing? I mean, it's kind of jarring knowing that somebody capable of that was on campus.
We've reached out to the school for a response about their alert system. Police stress there's no threat to the school. With more than 25,000 students enrolled at the school's 6 satellite campuses, police are urging students and staff to work from home. Extra patrols are on campus today.
If someone were to encounter this level of violence, they heard a gunshot and they thought that there was a real threat, there are 3 steps. It's run, hide, fight.
The president of the college says this. Here at SMC, we frequently refer to each other as...
Wait, wasn't that a Daily Wire movie?
Time, I urge us all to come together in kindness and compassion as we navigate this
He looks like he'd watch some Daily Wire.
And tonight, officials confirmed the...
You guys know Matt Walsh once called me a formidable voice in the culture?
There, everyone is really hoping for the best. Reporting live in Santa Monica, Gene Kang, KTLA 5 News.
Gene, thank you.
They were connected though, right? That the shooter was the person that had the standoff? Or did I just do that and that wasn't connected in any way? But like they reported it like it was connected, right? I'm very confused. The shooter at the college was the person who had the standoff with the SWAT team. Right? I think. A rapper and promoter in Atlanta has been convicted of some heinous sex acts.
Night at 11, a popular Atlanta promoter and rapper is now headed to prison, just found guilty of drugging and raping a woman.
Lawrence Enarity, known as Peso Montana, and a second man, Ryan Savage, you see them here on your screen, were
Peso
sentenced
Montana?
to 50 years, tried together, and convicted of rape. Tonight, the DeKalb County District Attorney confirms more potential victims have come forward, sharing similar stories of how they were assaulted.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn has that story tonight. He's live in Atlanta. So, Cody, you say these reported assaults go back more than a decade.
Ron, Jennifer, as far back as 2013, Peso Montana and Ryan Savage would lure these women to a home in Stone Mountain by putting online ads for free tattoos out there. Well, what they would do next, drug them and sexually assault them. Now tonight, you're about to hear from two women who responded to one of those ads. One of them was drugged, the other sexually assaulted, and we are protecting their identities tonight. I interviewed them over Zoom, and we will not be identifying them.
Fuck these dudes.
It wasn't about sex. It was more about power or humiliation.
Of course, yeah.
It's deeper than that because they did it repeatedly.
The advertisement.
Their motive and their MO is to get the girls to drink immediately.
The women say these two continued pouring drinks.
Said we was in and out. We was really drugged.
The next thing she knew,
I hear my sister screaming like somebody done killed her.
She'd been sexually assaulted.
I was hysterical. Pretty much I wanted to be in a safe place and call the police. So I asked her to, take me home. So I called the police from there and I went to go get a rape kit done at DeKalb Medical that same morning.
So what happened next?
They didn't stop. He started making music.
Referring to Lawrence Enarity, known as Peso Montana.
He was an Atlanta promoter for years. He was hosting parties, getting girls drunk and stuff for years, and nobody said anything.
They fought a silent battle.
If all those girls in my DM would have spoke up.
Peso Montana, fuck him.
He came forward and just no, I'm not going for it. It's wrong. I was violated. I deserve to be heard.
A decade later, Enarity and Ryan Savage have finally been stopped, only tried for one rape, partially because of the statute of limitations.
All these girls having the same story with the same couple of people, and nobody paid attention to it.
They've done it for over a decade. Fuck them.
Men were sentenced to life in prison, but
good
for parole after 50 years. And what is unknown tonight is just how many victims are out here across metro Atlanta. The two women you just heard from believe there are many, many more victims. As you mentioned, Jennifer and Ron, the DA has reached out to several.
Well, they got lives, so
we'll soon find out. Of course, if you are a victim of one of these two men, you're asked to contact the DeKalb County Police Department. In Atlanta, Cody Alcorn, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, very disturbing allegations. And if there are more victims out there, hopefully they will come forward. Cody, thank you.
Sure, the number played into the fact that they got life. Okay, like when I say content warning, I mean content warning. Gonna hear testimony from this girl or girls. They apparently beat the fuck out of this dude just because they were bored. And we're gonna see the dude, and he looks like somebody beat the fuck out of him. So, once again, as a 15-year-old testified in court about beating a man to death.
We've got some new information tonight on the fatal beating of a disabled man last October in the district.
Reggie Brown was out for a late-night walk in Northwest. As he walked along Georgia Avenue, police say a group of teenage girls attacked him. 5 were charged in the case. 2 have pled guilty.
Today, during the trial for 2 of the girls, testimony revealed.
Oh, wait a minute. It wasn't the beating that made him look like that?
For the beating.
Fuck.
News 4.
Oh, man, that's really insensitive of me, isn't it? Okay, so he looked like that before the beating. That makes it even worse that they beat the fuck out of him.
The courtroom and has the story.
Good evening. One of the 5 girls accused of taking part in the fatal beating of Reggie Brown and has already pled guilty in this
Poor
case,
Reggie
took the stand and testified for the prosecution. When she was asked what they were doing that night, she replied that they were out looking to beat someone up. And when the prosecutor asked why, she replied, "We were bored." The first girl to plead guilty in the case took the stand today.
I mean, who hasn't been there?
And revealed what took place in the moments leading up to the beating. The girl, now 15 and testifying under a grant of immunity, said as the 5 walked up Georgia Avenue, they saw a man only identified as Blue Coat beating Reggie Brown. The 15-year-old said Mr. Brown was on the ground. He was being attacked. By who, said the prosecutor. A man. He was wearing a blue coat. He pushed Mr. Brown to the ground. He then walked up to us, and I asked him why he was beating him up. What did he say? I don't remember what he said. I asked if we could help. He said yes. Blue Coat has never been identified. The 15-year-old, contrary to prior testimony in the case, told the court Blue Coat never threatened them if they refused to take part in the beating. The prosecutor said, what happened next? We started hitting him. His pants got pulled off. I kicked him. Was Mr. Brown saying anything? He said, stop. Did he say anything else? He stopped talking. I stepped back because I noticed something was wrong. As the prosecutor played the video of the beating one of the girls recorded on her cell phone that night, 2 of Brown's sisters walked out of the courtroom. The video shows the girl stomping on Brown's head. He appears to be unconscious and bleeding. We spoke with 2 of Brown's sisters outside the courthouse. You sat in there and watched that video. I mean, that was really hard.
I listened. I watched some and I listened. From what I heard, they know that boy. They all rejoice together. A stranger don't rejoice with you like that. They rejoice as friends.
The 15-year-old testified today she does not know who Blue Coat is. During a morning motions hearing, the judge revealed
what in the fuck?
Has pleaded guilty in the case, but it's unclear when that happened and what charge she pleaded guilty to. The trial resumes tomorrow. At D.C. Superior Court, Paul Wagner, News 4.
The 15-year-old girl who pleaded guilty and testified for the prosecution today was sentenced last week to 3 years in a secure juvenile detention facility.
That was wild. Go to Georgia, where we're finding out new information about the school shooter as his father appeared in court earlier today.
4 people and wounding 9 others at Appalachia High School last month faced a Barrow County judge this morning. Hello and thank you for joining us on Fox 5 News at noon. I'm Paul Milliken in for Alex today. The judge ruled the case against him can go forward after investigators testified and revealed new evidence during a preliminary hearing. There's a lot to break down here, and Fox 5's Tyler Fingert was there for that.
I like his hair and his facial hair.
He is live now outside the
Looks like an NPC you meet on like a Fallout game.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Paul, good afternoon to you. We did learn new evidence, and the best way to describe it, shocking. I mean, what we learned today about this teenager who police say went after fellow students and teachers at Appalachia High School last month is just honestly traumatic for what people had to go through on that specific day just about a month and a half.
That was only last month? That feels like so long ago. It feels like there's been a million shootings since then. It was only last month?
Ago. According to investigators, he meticulously planned this attack. Colt Gray had a black notebook, they say, that he planned this attack with and drew sketches that they say appear to show a classroom. The GBI agent said that in the 2-page plan, Colt talked about putting his tactical vest on, loading his AR-15 style rifle, and many other things investigators said he planned to do before carrying out his attack. Here's a portion of what investigators read from that plan this morning.
Energy flow.
Make sure no one was walking in or out of the bathroom. Gloves should be on. Take out your 60 rounder and put it in and chamber a round. Okay. Turn on your red dot, aim down at the floor, make sure your sight is on. Check your vest and make sure it's on tight. Once done, check stock to make sure it's in your preferred setting. Put on hat, make sure hair is out of your face. Set backpack to the side. Pick up rifle with right hand. Open stall door with left. Don't shoot anyone in the bathroom. You'll alert people.
I mean, truly shocking stuff there in that notebook that investigators read from. And while that notebook was just one portion of, or what they just read was one portion of that notebook, there was also another startling fact that we learned. He apparently, according to investigators, Colt Gray apparently planned his number of victims. Take a listen.
Foobar.
In the hallway column, it's written,
back, my
I'm
friend.
thinking 3 to 4 people killed, injured, question mark, 4 to 5. Under the classroom column is written 15 to 17 killed, injured, question mark, 2 to 3. Further down the page is written classroom 2.
Okay, is that judge a cute older lady or a frumpy old man? I can't tell. Is it an adorable older lady that I'd totally want to bang a gilf? Or is it a frumpy old man that I really don't want to have anything to do with?
3 to 5 killed.
Oh, it's a lady. I want to find out what's under that robe.
In parentheses off to the side, it says, surprised if I make it this far.
Preliminary hearing, that's Colt's father. Prosecutors have charged Colin with a number of counts, including involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors say the reasoning is because he has primary custody of Colt, knew about his obsession with school shooters, his deteriorating mental state, and he provided the...
This motherfucker doesn't look remorseful.
This is only the second time in U.S. history that a parent has been charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection to a mass shooting, and the first time in the state of Georgia. After hearing the evidence today, the magistrate judge ruled that there is probable cause and that this case can continue. During today's hearing, we also heard about how this attack unfolded and how basically this entire thing was on video inside Appalachia High School. There were cameras in the hallways like most schools, but there was also cameras actually inside the classrooms. So you were actually able to see this, according to investigators. They said in the classroom where the first part of the shooting happened, it only lasted about 7 seconds, and that's where the first victim was killed and several other students were injured in there. And it is honestly
oh fuck, we're eventually gonna see that shit.
Also in court, the investigators talked about how Colt had a shrine of school shooting suspects in his game room. They also talked about how there was a crumbled
fucked up
paper they found in his game room.
That should be a red flag.
Expletive, this life of mine. Truly, for 2 hours, shocking testimony from investigators. The case against Colin continuing. There's apparently also going to be a grand jury tomorrow to possibly look at more charges against Colt. That is set to happen sometime here at the Barrow County Courthouse tomorrow morning. We have requested to be there. We'll, of course, bring you updates as we get them. We are live in Barrow County this afternoon. Tyler Fingered, Fox 5 News.
Ooh. Tyler Fingered. The anger said absolutely chilling information. I'm like, Tyler Fingered. What is wrong with me? Why am I like this? A Las Vegas judge apparently freed a man who waited for months in jail for treatment. He then went out to stalk your mom.
We know that he's mentally ill, right? Like, whether he sat for 45 days or 46, like, he's still mentally ill.
Mental illness is a topic Alicia Runyon knows well. She's a therapist who runs her own practice, a practice that would soon become the site of her stalker's arrest.
So he actually went to the same elementary school that I went to.
Oh, not your mom, just a mom, a random mom.
Together.
Runyon and Matthew DeSavio knew each other back then, but were never friends.
Would you say he was infatuated with you?
Yes. it seems to be the case.
A case of infatuation that lasted several years. A case that would eventually put DeSavio in prison.
A man is accused of threatening a 1 October-style massacre on the...
In October 2022, Metro Police arrested DeSavio for threatening a mass shooting on the Strip.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
After refusing to appear in court for months, he was present for this competency hearing 74 days after he first stepped into jail.
I am finding him incompetent to proceed based on the findings of Drs. Colosimo.
Clark County District Court Judge Christy Craig ordered him to mental health treatment that courts interpret are part of a constitutional right to due process, and treatment that's required to start within 7 days. By the end of March, 5 months after his arrest, DeSavio remained in a cell at the Clark County Detention Center, receiving none of that mandatory treatment. That's when DeSavio's public defender filed this motion to have his case dismissed, citing the state's failure to provide prompt restorative treatment within 7 days. The judge ordered the state again to move him within 7 days, and when they didn't,
The charges are hereby dismissed and the defendant is released from custody.
now in custody for 6 months, the same judge said DeSavio's rights were violated because he was just sitting in jail.
Well, they were.
Case. Matthew DeSavio was a free man.
I just want you to friend, Alicia. I miss you. I need you as a friend.
Within days, DeSavio started leaving messages on Runyon's phone.
So the first message, he's like, I'm just calling my best friend, which would be me. I'm just checking in on you.
That over-the-phone check-in soon escalating to in-person visits. 2 months after his release, DeSavio was coming to Runyon's office trying to find her. Video the 8 News Now investigators obtained shows him leaving these notes and letters where he mentions a previous protection notice that required him to stay away. Runyon, pregnant with her third child at the time, called police, who she says told her there wasn't much they could do.
They said that they would take him to jail, but that he would probably be released, and he was, because he came back the very next day.
And the next day, that's exactly what he did. This time, after so many years of being ignored, DeSavio's demeanor changed. Bye, Alicia, this Facebook post said, alongside a threat of another mass shooting at a Vegas Golden Knights game.
Tonight, our CBS affiliate KLAS.
That made national news, with officers arresting DeSavio hours before the hockey game.
And now everybody wants to take this seriously.
Soon, DeSavio was back in jail, back in the system that let him go.
Do you think he was actually going to do something to you?
Like, he may have tried to kill me. I honestly believe that.
The fact that people are not getting to those services within 7 days is bad for everybody.
DeSavio's case is one of several Clark County.
This is a sad story.
A
sad story about how fucked up our system is.
When you release somebody who's
access
charged with
to
a
health
serious
care,
criminal offense, who has a mental illness, and that mental illness hasn't been addressed.
a broken jail system. It's got everything.
Investigators reported Monday that
everything that makes America great.
Frame set through a legal decree. The state has 7 days to transport a defendant deemed incompetent from jail to one of its 2 facilities.
How often is that 7-day window actually happening?
Never.
In court, Rahman can only represent the people's best interest when this issue goes before Judge Craig. In DeSavio's case, he waited 150 days for treatment only to have his first case dismissed entirely. This time, now 2 months after his arrest for stalking Runyon and for threatening mass violence.
Competent to proceed to adjudication.
Doctors found him well enough for Craig to rule that he could stand trial.
We don't control anything in that process.
So you're just sitting ducks waiting for them to come back?
Yes.
Sitting ducks who, in this case, watched Alicia Runyon become a sitting duck herself.
Did anyone fail here?
Yeah, I think, the court system failed, the state failed, the police. It's really hard to get someone to listen to you.
Runyon says someone finally listened as she told a judge what a decade of stalking did to her and her family.
He threatened to kill my husband and shoot up our home, calling me vile names and making me fear for my life every day.
And now every day feels a little safer, though it's little comfort overall.
I'm glad that for the next 5 years he's in jail, is what I'll say.
Looks like he's going.
Matthew DeSavio pleaded guilty but mentally ill and is serving a 6 to 15-year sentence. And those two words in that plea, mentally ill, are really important here because this means the judge, when giving that sentence, stipulated that he gets treatment in prison. During his sentencing, DeSavio apologized and said he was ashamed. And as you saw there, it's kind of like a therapy session that she and I had because her office is so small. Imagine she knows she's in the lobby and she's just trying to hide from it.
It's terrifying.
Anxiety for sure. David, now we watched what happens in the courtroom for 2 days now. Does the judge really have any control?
You know, we've attempted to talk to her. Judges often don't do interviews. That's, you know, kind of their thing. They got to be impartial. But we got to make it clear that she's really the arbitrator here. She's trying to compel the state to do something. She can fine them those $500 a day that we told you in our report on Monday while the defendant sits there waiting for one of these beds. And contrary to what people think of this story as they were responding to it on Twitter yesterday, she didn't just release Matthew DeSavio. She gave them several times in several opportunities.
Maybe our viewers are wondering, are there any solutions? You say there are.
Yeah, so the state, they've been talking about this for 20 years now, but they hope to have hundreds of new beds here in Clark County by the next decade, by the end of the decade, I should say. And there is a
by the end of the decade
here in court where some of these crimes, misdemeanor crimes, get what they call diverted. We will show you what happened in one of those cases tomorrow here at 6 o'clock.
Excellent job.
Riveting.
David.
So yesterday we did a couple different stories. A cop was upset about his meal inside of a Burger King drive-through line. He called for backup. Then a murderer was upset about his barbecue sauce at a Mickey D's. Now a dude stabbed a Popeyes employee because he was upset about his order.
Overnight, a case of possible self-defense, the end result of an argument inside a fast food restaurant in Logan. Police say a man was stabbed after fighting with Popeye's employees over his food order. Action News reporter Catherine Scott is live at police headquarters with more details. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tam. Police say this was all captured on store surveillance footage, that it started as a fight over a food order. It ended with a person stabbed.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Some sort of dispute with the employees over a food order and began attacking and assaulting one of the employees.
Let's go to video from Logan last night. You can see the crime scene tape outside the Popeyes located in a shopping plaza on North Broad near Champlost. This happened around 11 p.m. 8 or 9.
Probably not be eating any chicken right now.
Police say a 28-year-old man got into an argument with an employee over his food order. Police say the argument escalated to a physical fight with a 34-year-old employee stabbing the 28-year-old customer in self-defense. The customer ran away from the store, but police were able to follow a blood trail from the Popeyes around the corner into a nearby house where officers located him. He was conscious and talking and taken into custody. He's being held at the hospital in stable condition. The employee remained on scene and is cooperating with detectives.
Other employees intervened and tried to push this 28-year-old back out from the front door. That's when the 34-year-old employee who was getting assaulted and attacked pulled a knife and stabbed the 28-year-old multiple times in his torso and head.
And at this point, no charges have been filed against that Popeyes employee. We're live at police headquarters. Catherine Scott, Channel 6 Action News.
Yeah, frightening situation.
Crab du jour? Crab du jour? I would too. I would totally try. What do you think they have? Any Krabby Patties, crab salad, crab dip? Get some crab legs, crab cakes. That's not the only restaurant related story I have tonight. This one caused a huge uproar. Get this. In Massachusetts, the restaurant had to close down for the craziest reason.
A Hudson restaurant trying to move forward after a controversy that started when staff served World War II reenactors who were wearing Nazi uniforms. Good afternoon. I'm Brianna Pitts. The Hudson restaurant plans to reopen, and as WBZ's Jordan Jagalinzer explains, the owners had closed their doors because of safety worries.
This Hudson restaurant is back open after having to shut down because their employees were being threatened amid the costume controversy. Kith and Kin in Hudson reopening their doors today. The family-owned restaurant closed on Tuesday, putting up a sign explaining the decision was made for safety reasons. It all started after a presentation at the American Heritage Museum, who conducted a World War II reenactment of our nation's war heroes confronting the enemy.
The American Heritage Museum is bringing World War II's battle for the airfield to life.
After the presentation, a group of reenactors ate at the Washington Street Eatery dressed in costume. The restaurant owners say 2 of them were dressed as SS soldiers. We spoke with American
Probably
Heritage
shouldn't have done
Museum
that.
trustee
She took the
Gary
jacket
Lee.
off.
Says there are protocols on how and where the costumes are presented. He says the museum doesn't allow costumes with SS collars on the grounds.
There is strict protocols that the American Heritage Museum has regarding what to wear, when to wear it, how to wear it. And clearly that protocol was violated.
The restaurant apologized on Facebook for allowing the reenactors to eat there, saying they should have asked them to change, adding, quote, "We would never intentionally do anything to offend or hurt anyone in the community. If we truly thought these individuals held anti-Semitic beliefs, we would have never allowed them to step foot in the restaurant."
It's at a time when acts of anti-Semitic violence are on the rise, when neo-Nazis have taken to the streets. The Holocaust continues to be denied. So wearing German uniforms in a public space, that's beyond thoughtless.
Which Holocaust is he referring
Also
to?
tells WBZ that the museum will be tightening protocols now for actors. In Hudson, Jordan Jagalinzer, WBZ News.
Could be like the Holocaust that the neo-Nazis deny, or could be like, the one that Israel is currently committing. That one. The Inspector General in Chicago is asking that some Chicago Police Department of deputies or whatever the fuck cops be removed from law enforcement.
What happens when police officers hide behind the mask?
It's been a long week.
Group. Since January 6, 2021, more than a dozen CPD officers have been tagged as members of radical, sometimes violent groups, even as they deny it and remain on the job. Tonight, some of those officers and others with seriously flawed work histories may be among the names targeted for state decertification.
Good.
After a history-making move by the Chicago Inspector General.
In order to serve as a police officer in any department in Illinois, a person must be certified as eligible to do so by the state of Illinois.
Tonight, City Inspector General Deborah Witzberg has recommended that the state decertify a number of CPD officers and has sent the names and alleged misdeeds of those officers here to the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, headquartered in this plain brick building in Springfield. According to the agency, a new law allows inspectors general to ask that officers be defrocked for verified excessive force, tampering with official body or dash cam footage, and lying, and any other unprofessional or unethical conduct harmful to the public. As the I-Team first reported nearly 2 years ago, at least a dozen CPD officers had been linked to the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and other anti-government, sometimes racist extremist groups, but allowed to stay on the job.
He was shocked.
Tonight, Witzberg declines to discuss which officers are being recommended for state decertification or for what reason, but pointed to honesty as an important criteria.
We have highlighted situations in which CPD members have been allowed to keep their jobs in the department despite having been found to violate the police department's rule against false reports. Lying is specifically a category which is eligible for discretionary decertification. We take those cases very seriously. People who lie in reports should not continue to serve as police officers.
Grizzly Bear, welcome in.
Inspector General asked that Mayor Johnson and the police department take more robust action.
I got a Mayor Johnson for you.
The rules. Tonight, she won't say whether they could have headed off state involvement in a city matter. One upside to state decertification by Illinois officials, the action extends across Illinois and prevents bad officers from losing their job in one city only to end up in another. That's something we've seen in recent years here.
So do we now wait to see what happens with the recommendation?
Well, we have no choice at this point, but I think we can expect some swift.
Grizzly, I can sum up my political views this way. I am whatever political persuasion allows me to piss in Dan Crenshaw's...
You live in sexual anarchy.
I really, I'm off my game. I'm going to have to rest up. I am for whatever political persuasion allows me to piss in Dan Crenshaw's open eye hole. Give me that eye pussy, sir. I am. I might have to pack a new one. Dan Crenshaw is a man with an eye pussy. And it's really dry. His eye pussy is very dry. It needs to be pissed in. I'm doing him a favor. Abattoir, good evening. You've never seen an eye pussy that dry. What the fuck was I doing? I had shit to do. That's really fucking serious. Really fucking serious. Let's skip it. Okay. Do you guys know? We already did the Trump town hall. That was earlier. We watched it. I kind of thought Harris Faulkner looked. I'm adding Harris Faulkner to the list of right-wing women that I would let dominate me. And, for some reason, that list keeps growing.
You live in sexual anarchy.
New kink I'm just finding out that I had. I was a huge fan of the musical artist MIA. Do you guys remember MIA? She's probably most famous for the All I Want to Do Is Bang 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 song that was on the Pineapple Express soundtrack. But she had a lot of bangers besides that one. My chain hits my neck as I'm banging on the dashboard. So what I'm getting ready to tell you about MIA might be shocking to you, especially if you're like me and you've followed her for years and know that she, one, was an immigrant from Sri Lanka into the UK and wrote about immigration, was very anti-cop, very pro-BLM. So the fact that I'm getting ready to play you a clip from her interview on The Blaze. No, apparently this is called 0 Hour. I found it from The Blaze. Oh no, it is The Blaze Network. It's got the Blaze logo down in the bottom right-hand corner.
So I want to be sure to talk a little bit about music before we go. I was in London around the turn of the century, 1999, and it was just so explosive with so much music. It's such high quality and connecting with so many people. And now, you know, Oasis is sort of returning finally. And there's this kind of this feeling of like getting a last taste of a moment that has gone. And I just wonder, like, you know, where do you see music going? And do you think music is doing what it needs to be doing for us as human beings right now?
It's not Kirk Cameron, right?
I think music is, yeah, it's the same. It's like the responsibility of it. You know, I also lived through that time. Music is healing, and it can change a lot of people's mood or vibe. And
I loved this woman.
People, you know, and I think
she's gone completely batshit.
It's been hijacked because it became a business.
Yeah, it's capitalism.
Still know the value of music, and good music still exists. You know, and you can also get it from the past. You can still listen to it. A recording is a recording, and it exists. But yeah, it's a difficult thing because when you're a musician, it's the fact that you have to put it through the channel of an industry that it gets corrupted, you know, and it gets put into a box, and this is how it's got to go out, this is how it's got to look, and this is what it's got to, this is the image that has to be put with this song.
Yo, good evening.
Has to look like this, and she has to do this dance, and da-da-da. And
this looks like something Dave would watch.
Like, you know, obviously, it's 50-50 because Satan was the director of music. You know, it is a great tool to get to people.
Satan is the director of music.
Directly access your spirit. So you bypass the mind and your soul and your logic and everything. And
just the way that it's used to sort of tell people how to behave sexually.
Yes. So music directly speaks to your spirit.
You live in sexual anarchy.
Access the spirit without permission. So when you walk into a shop and you listen to a song, it directly accesses your spirit without permission.
Right.
And
that's what it was. She had a kid.
Responsibility to practice when you make music, and level of knowledge you have to have, and we don't. You know,
couple of things. She got rich, and she had a kid. You got to throw a couple of different things in there, right?
We do get, because culture and the cult of culture, what is cool is never that. You know, what is cool is the Satan's playground version.
Satan's playground.
In that, then you're outside of that, you know. But I don't know. It's a really difficult one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Even AI, I don't. It's like it's kind of whatever. I think it's entertaining. It's like having a toy. But if the people who produce the AI or design the AI and the way AI is coded and responds in how it makes
capitalism,
music,
you're trying to critique capitalism. You used to be a leftist. You should know this.
It's like, you know, the fruit doesn't fall far away from the tree, and if the tree is great, then yeah, the fruit will be great. But if the coders of the AI and the programmers of AI, and funny enough, I was talking to a tech person who is, you know, one of the early sort of
Libertad, good evening,
of Ethereum, and this person did a lot of stuff and also in like governmental spaces and things. And he was,
I don't know where she lived in
Maya,
the UK.
You should be bringing up new artists now. You should be sharing.
I'm sorry, Torchy. Are you sure I've got pit bulls next?
Where you can help artists who are less known monetize, you know, and share some way to filter down. Well,
this isn't even that long of a clip, but it feels like it's taking forever.
Things I say, but if I was going to bring up new artists, and I was like, what kind of new artists do you think are not getting a platform? And he was like, PP Cocaine. And I was like, who's that?
PP Cocaine?
And I was like, wow, she must be really trying hard and not getting through to the mainstream. And when I was like,
Cocaine?
this like weird girl in some village that's never going to get the shine, you know, doesn't dress sexy or whatever. And when I looked her up, like, she's basically like Bad Barbie or Cardi B. And she was just like doing the same stuff. And I said, well, what she is the mainstream.
Yeah.
Like, Cardi B is already shooting videos naked. So what about this girl that is not mainstream? Like, you have Ice Spice that's carbon copy of this girl. So even when you have these techies who have the power and control and are advising governments to program AI and program the technological future of our society, even they think the avant-garde is exactly the same as the mainstream. And all they want is a sexy female every time. That's very, very skirting very close to porn.
Yeah, this is not deep in any way.
So it's not like there's some techie that's like thinking true real music is like this flute playing girl on the...
I hate to have my my facade shattered that I had of this woman.
So I fell out of kind of, you know, thinking that was the answer, and the AI was going to be the answer to create this new generation of
Watch, Dave will play this.
who are more knowing.
On fucking Intellectual Dollar Tree, like this week or next.
It is an interesting space. I'm taking time out, which is why I'm doing a brand. And
but she's doing a brand. Make money.
The future of music, and I think, you know, even taking realities of like Kanye West, and his struggle.
Is she friends with Kanye?
Like, interesting. You know, he's trying to fit into this structure that is the existing structure.
Yeah, very difficult.
And it's very difficult. And then you've got the new structure, which is the AI structure, and the sort of like...
Oh my God, yeah, I can't do it.
It's still...
We had a minute to go. There was a minute to go. I was gonna hit you with bird flu, but you know, I didn't want to do fucking serious shit. Oh, she's saying it's terrifying. I was really hoping it was gonna be cuddly and not terrifying, but apparently it's terrifying, so I'm sorry. Sorry, anonymously. I'm pretty sure I didn't have the whole interview. I just had that one clip of her talking about Cardi B and shit. Because that's the reason why they clipped it. Because it was Cardi B. It's topical. But all right, let's watch some pit bulls eat some people.
Now, some terrifying video of a couple swarmed by a pack of pit bulls in their own backyard. This was not an isolated case. A mother was also surrounded by the same pack of dogs while she was...
I mean, did you see them titties? No wonder those pit bulls they were thirsty. They wanted the memories. I'd give them titties a titty slap.
A titty slap!
Come on now. This is what happens when I'm tired and I'm hungry. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please cancel Justin.
Picking up her children at daycare. As Lester reports, there have been 4 police reports filed against the dog's owners in just the last few months.
Shut up, Lester.
Sheer terror as a pack of pit bulls attack a couple on their patio. Sarah Cook and Ryan Lesher.
Where'd all these dogs come from?
Vicious dogs swarm around them, snarling and biting. As they flee indoors, the pack runs off, searching for more victims.
Was sure that we were going to die.
Attack of the killer pit bulls.
One jumped up and bit me right in my abdomen immediately.
I wasn't sure if I was going to survive that, but we did. We're here.
Sarah and Ryan had planned to hold their wedding on the patio. Now they say
did you have meat in your pockets?
This house, and it should be such a happy time for us, and now we're afraid to be in our backyard.
Incredibly, just 10 days later, the same pack of pit bulls attacked a mom of 3 as she picked up her kids at daycare in Indianapolis. Look at them circling the car, round and round. The traumatized toddlers are safely inside the vehicle, but their mom is bitten on the feet and ankles as she screams for her life.
Where'd they come from?
Reminded her of the hyenas in the Lion King movie.
My kids are screaming, and what was probably lasted 30 seconds.
The hyenas on the Lion King.
10 to 15 minutes of pure torture.
It's National Pit Bull Awareness Month, a time when pit bull owners try to improve the negative image of the controversy.
Well, let me tell you, these two are very aware of pit bulls. It's not the dog's fault. Where's the owner of these pit bulls? How are there so many of them in a pack? And, like, they look really young.
Pit bulls attack a couple on their patio. Sarah Cook and Ryan Lesher scramble for safety.
Yeah, they're probably just wanting to play.
Swarm around them, snarling and biting. As they flee indoors, the pack runs off, searching for more victims.
I was sure that we were going to die. We were pretty much pinned against the wall. One jumped up and bit me right in my abdomen immediately.
I wasn't sure if I was going to survive that, but we did. We're here.
Sarah,
I wasn't sure I was going to survive the cuddly dog attack.
Now they say they're too scared.
We just bought this house, and it should be such a happy time for us.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. They are capable of doing a lot of damage. They are, but most of them are cuddly and lovable, and they're probably just wound the fuck. They're young, clearly.
Incredibly, just 10 days later, the same pack of pit bulls attacked a mom of 3 as she picked up.
Did you try throwing something?
Indianapolis. Look
Throw
at
a stick.
Circling the car, round and round. The traumatized toddlers are safely inside the vehicle, but their mom is bitten on the feet and ankles as she screams for her life. She says the dogs reminded her of the hyenas in the Lion King movie.
My kids are screaming, and what was probably lasted 30 seconds felt like 10 to 15 minutes of pure torture.
It's National
Did you have bacon in your pockets?
A time when pit bull owners try to improve the negative image of the controversial breed. This year, the effort has been marred by pit bull attacks that have left 3 children dead and 2 seriously injured. The owner of this pack in Indianapolis.
Well, curious sir, it's Halloween time, and a roving pack of deadly pit bulls is kind of very Halloweeny, don't you think? Keep you on your toes.
Does not seem to have gotten the memo. After the latest attacks, the dogs were finally removed by animal control.
The couple who were attacked want the county to limit the number.
Were they just strays?
So incidents like that don't happen again.
So that's your animal video for the night. Oh my God, I'm horrible. I'm sorry. No. You get pandas. You get pandas for your animal video. Are you ready for? Are you excited about the pandas?
Of the day, and of course, it's our 2 new giant panda friends. They are home. They are at the Smithsonian National Zoo. They started their long journey from China last night into the nation's capital this morning. Our own Bob Barnard has been at the zoo all morning long. I mean, even if you haven't seen them, Bob, you can feel the excitement in the air.
Oh, yeah, Marina and Joe, they're right over there. They're inside the zoo, which is actually closed today. But yes, Bao Li and...
Wait, we're not going to get to see the pandas?
And I mean, it was only yesterday around this time that we got word that they were on their way, that they had left China, and now they're already here. I want to show you some video when the Panda Express landed just before 10 o'clock this morning.
The Panda Express.
Take a look. I mean, that's a beautiful shot there. The 2 giant pandas and Tian Tian, Bao Li's grandfather, were on the jumbo jet there that started in Western China, fueled up in Anchorage, Alaska, and then landed here this morning. There they are. The 2 panda bears were in the crate.
I mean, you can only trust FedEx to do this, right?
And driven here in kind of a convoy. And the deal is this. They're going to be in a quarantine for 30 days, and then some extra weeks before they're actually out before the public. And we've learned that date is going to be January 20th. 24th. So mark your calendars. And here it is.
Was it supposed to frost tonight, Six? You might want to bring your plant
Connecticut
in.
Avenue just a little after 11:15 this morning. So January 14th, that's the day they'll be available for the public to see. There's a lot of excitement in the air here.
It's exciting because we just, we came here earlier this week. We're visiting from Texas, and so we were here about 2 years ago visiting friends. We got to see the pandas then, and then we came. We didn't realize they weren't going to be here, but the hype of them coming back is super.
You send me a link anonymously.
Really glad if they're back. It'll be
Send it to me.
for the zoo to have a lot more business because the pandas are coming, and if we ever get to see them again, I'd be really excited.
So here they are, Bao Li and Qing Bao. Now, Bao Li is the son of Bao Bao, a female giant panda that was born here at the National Zoo in 2013. Bao Bao, the Tian Tian. So Tian Tian, who left here in November, was actually on the jet, did the flight, was part of the flight.
Yeah, I can't approve it like in the chat, like whisper it to me or something.
To China again. So it's kind of weird. They said that Tian Tian came along as kind of a comfort for the younger ones, but they don't really mix usually. Like when Tian Tian was here, it was not in the same pen with Mei Xiong and their offspring. So Tian Tian was usually on his own here at the zoo, but he came along for the ride today and is now heading back so close, but not so far really. Heading back to China soon will be Tian Tian. But here we'll have these two new giant panda bears for the foreseeable future.
I'm sad that we don't get to see the pandas now.
Done a lot of work here, guys. I don't know if you've heard
about them
like
getting here.
Renovations to the
look at them.
Exhibit, both outdoors and indoors, and they've beefed up the Panda Cam system.
The Panda Cam system.
We don't know when the Panda Cam switch will be turned on, but again, it'll be January 24th when our new giant pandas make their public debut here at the National Zoo.
I love it, love it, love it. The dad rode along to make sure his daughter got here straight, got checked in the dorm and everything, got her meal card. And then he said, okay, now I'm flying back. I'm going to stop by.
He's trying to do a stand-up act.
He's wherever, and then he's going back to China. Way to go, Dad.
Yeah, Tian Tian crushing it out there. Bob, thank you for the update. Yeah, well, Grandpa.
Thanks, Bob.
That's unbelievable stuff. That's
Yeah,
the
it
way
is.
that they do these things. But I know that you caught up with people, and like we're talking about the excitement in the air. Are people really that excited?
Okay. Those of us who know, we're excited.
I was hoping I got some actual panda action since I didn't get any pandas from
they got excited,
this video.
some people are
This isn't pandas at all.
So
These are stock puppets.
Because it's all about the pandas.
Where's the pandas? No, I don't want to hear people talk about pandas. I want to see fucking pandas. God
You know, I
damn
got a
it.
question today. Today's question is an easy one, though. How you feel about
Show me pandas, you bitches.
Well, we mentioned this a little yesterday, but they're so cute. Why not talk about it some more? A couple of pandas now getting comfortable at their new home at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C.
These pandas will be in quarantine for at least 30 days to reduce the risk of introducing parasites or disease to other animals. They are, however,
I'd cuddle a panda.
their national debut January.
Oh no, you don't apologize. I'll watch it here after I get off.
Here in the U.S. Tonight, we're taking a look at how they will transition.
And their diet is the first step. The zoo's nutrition staff
It is wild looking over here and seeing it play on the other screen.
the last group of pandas left. Tommy McFly explains.
I mean, look at this mouth-watering bamboo, organic, locally grown. We wondered, how much bamboo do two giant pandas eat? Where does it come from and who grows it? That's why we're in Front Royal, Virginia.
Okay, this is the
Conservation biology.
the question everybody's wanting to ask.
National Zoo.
And we have complex operations that take place on this campus, as well as what happens at the zoo. So when it comes to food and diet management, we're moving things back and forth all the time.
A lot happens on these 3,200 sprawling acres, including growing much of the bamboo our new pandas will eat.
Right now, what we're doing is we're cutting what we call lines into the bamboo. So you can see these gaps that are in the bamboo stand that are behind us. Generated a fair bit of bamboo.
I wanted pandas and I got a video about bamboo.
Thus, their sustainable approach.
So we have space for shoots to come in without the entire stand growing in size.
But when you think about the panda story and how they've gone from being so endangered to more prevalent, and it's been such a success over the last half a century. How important is nutrition?
Completely and totally. We are singly responsible for the recovery of giant pandas.
That was not what I thought you would say. Way to go. I'm glad you took a victory lap.
I kind of joke, but I kind of don't in terms of increasing recruitment into the population. We've been trying to improve giant panda diets in managed care. And so that is, it seems pretty simple, right? We want to try to increase the amount of bamboo that we're feeding to giant pandas. But we're trying to do that broadly around the world.
How long would this take to grow?
A shoot that tall would probably take a month.
A month?
Maybe less.
Wow! Aside from this site in Warren County, more than 20 landowners in our area grow bamboo with Mike's team.
Early on in my career when I started here,
I want to see a panda in heat.
Oh.
And that was terrible. It was terrible on so many fronts.
You can't go to Costco for that.
Exactly. And so we had to start partnering.
Why was the first thing it gave me a panda in heat?
Typically, we're looking for more
What the
than an acre
fuck?
of solid bamboo.
Alien, good evening.
For bamboo.
There's you some panda action out in the wild. A panda with its panda cub. China. I would totally cuddle a panda. They don't eat people, do they? They eat the bamboo. You can cuddle, or would they squash you? The Xinhuan province. Yayan City. I butchered that one. Sichuan. It's probably Sichuan province. I tried to date a Chinese girl. I failed miserably. That happened one time. I think it's not a painted dog. I think we got a cute panda. I feel like they're nice and cuddly. Like, I feel like if they're gonna hurt you, it's gonna be like on accident or something. But is that just like me being stupid, not knowing that pandas are deadly creatures? Because they are bears. If you're watching on Twitch, it's time for the intellectual Dollar Tree. Watch him play that fucking video. That would be hilarious. Go in, MIA is just droning away on whatever that fucking podcast was. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. I feel like there's a debate tomorrow night. Hold on. I feel like it's a good one, too. Oh, we get Elizabeth Warren tomorrow night. We get Jackie Rosen and Sam Brown in Nevada. There's also the Washington Senate debate between Maria Cantwell and Raul Garcia. Going to be a big night of debates tomorrow night. So be sure to get a lot of rest. Light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before we hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.